A fist pounded against wood. 3 hard strikes that shook the door on its hinges. A voice from the other side breaking. "Please, I'm freezing. Let me in." Inside the cabin, a man froze with his hand on a rifle. He did not move. The pounding came again. Weaker. A woman's voice. "I have nothing left, but I will give you what I can. Please." He stepped closer to the door. He saw her shadow through the gap in the planks. Small, bent over, shaking so hard her teeth knocked together. He lifted the latch with one finger. He did not open it. Not yet. "Who are you?" he said. The voice answered. "Nalia." Patchy. Alone. He stood there a long time. Wind howled. Snow piled against the door. What he chose in the next 10 seconds would change the rest of his life. "Stay with me on this one." He pulled the door open. The wind almost tore it from his hand. She fell forward into the cabin and landed hard on the floor. He caught her by the shoulder and dragged her clear of the doorway before the snow could follow her. Then he slammed the door shut and dropped the bar across it. She lay on the boards, wet black hair across her face, lips blue, fingers stiff and white at the tips, a torn blanket of trade wool around her shoulders. There was no flesh left on those shoulders. None at all. He stood over her with the rifle still in his hand. He had not set it down. He had not decided yet whether he would. His name was Caleb Mercer. 3 winters in this cabin. 5 years before that in the cavalry riding patrols through New Mexico territory. He had buried his wife under the cottonwood tree out back. He had buried 2 friends in places he did not like to remember. And he had learned, as a young soldier, that a desperate woman could put a knife in your ribs while you were bending down to help her up. So he did not lower the rifle. "Get up," he said. She tried. She could not. Her legs would not work. The cold had gone all the way into the bones. He swore under his breath. He set the rifle down on the table within arm's reach. He picked her up the way a man picks up a sack of grain and carried her to the fire. He laid her on the rug in front of the hearth. He covered her with 2 blankets pulled off his own bed. Then he went back to the table and picked up the rifle again. He sat across the room. He watched her. The fire cracked. Outside, the wind beat against the walls. She was small, half-starved. There were cuts on her wrists where rope had been tied for a long time. Bruises along her neck. Old ones, fading green. New ones, dark and angry. After a long time, her eyes opened. She did not move. She just looked at him through the firelight. "You said your name was Nalia," he said. She nodded. "Just barely." "Where did you come from?" She tried to speak. Her voice broke twice before the words came out. 3 days, she whispered. "Walked. From the South Canyon." He knew that canyon. 20 miles south. Maybe more. Nobody walked 20 miles in snow like this. Not without dying along the way. "Who put those marks on your wrists?" She closed her eyes. She did not answer. He waited. "White men," she finally said. Now here's the thing. That changed something for him. Or maybe it did not. He could not tell yet. He had known white men who needed to be run from. He had also known Apache who lied when they said they were running. He had been a soldier long enough to know that. "You said you had something to give," he said. She opened her eyes again. There was nothing in them but cold and tired. "I have my hands," she said. "I can cook. I can sew. I can find water under snow when the streams freeze. I can heal what is sick. I will work for you until the snow goes. Then I will leave. I will not take from you. I will not steal. I will not bring trouble to your door." It was a long speech for somebody who could barely sit up. He studied her. He looked at the bruises on her neck. He looked at the cuts on her wrists. He looked at the way her hands shook even under the blanket. He thought about saying no. He thought about putting her on a horse in the morning and pointing her toward the nearest fort. The army would take her in. The army would put her on a wagon with other captives. The army would do what the army always did. He thought about that for a long time. Then he stood up. He went to the stove. He poured a tin cup of broth he had made from a rabbit 2 days back. He brought it to her and held it to her lips. She drank. She coughed. She drank again. Her eyes never left his face. "You sleep here tonight," he said. "By the fire. I will sit at the table. In the morning we will see." She tried to thank him. He held up a hand. He did not want to hear it. He went back to the table. He sat down with the rifle across his lap. He watched the door. He watched her. He did not sleep that night. In the morning she could sit up. Just barely. She was still pale. But the blue had gone from her lips. He boiled coffee. He put a piece of cornbread in front of her. She ate it slow. She did not speak. He did not push her to. He went out to feed the horses. When he came back, the fire was built up higher. The blankets had been folded. She was on her knees by the hearth, sweeping ash into the pan with a piece of broken broom. Her hands were still shaking, but she was working. That was the first day. The second day she could stand. She walked the cabin slow, like a woman who had forgotten how. By evening she had mended a tear in his coat. She used a needle from her own pouch. He had not seen the pouch before. She kept it tied inside the waistband of her dress. The third day she made stew from what was on the shelf. He had been making the same stew for 3 winters. Hers tasted different, better. He did not know what she had done to it. He did not ask. The fourth day he went out trapping. He left her in the cabin alone with the rifle. He did not say so. He just left it on the rack and walked out. When he came back at dusk, the rifle was still on the rack. The door was still barred from the inside. She let him in. The cabin smelled like bread. Bread. There had not been bread in that cabin since his wife died. He sat down at the table without taking off his coat. He stared at the loaf cooling on the cloth. He did not say anything for a long time. She watched him. She thought he was angry. "I used your flour," she said. "I am sorry." "No," he said. "No. It is fine." He cut a piece. He chewed slow. He swallowed. He said nothing. He cut another piece. She turned away. She did not want him to see her face. Believe me when I tell you. Something started shifting in that cabin that night. Neither of them said it. Neither of them admitted it. But it started. A week passed. 2 weeks. The snow stayed deep. The trapping was good. He brought back beaver and fox. She tanned them better than he ever had. She knew which root to boil for the brain tan. She knew how to scrape a hide so it stayed soft. He started talking to her. Just small things at first. About the weather. About the horses. About the wolves he had heard the night before. She started talking back. She told him she was Mescalero Apache. She told him her people had a winter camp in the Sacramento Mountains. She told him her mother had died young. Her father had died last summer. Her brother had been the last family she had. She did not say what happened to her brother. Not yet. One evening, about 3 weeks in, she took something out of her pouch. A piece of turquoise on a leather cord. The stone was the color of summer sky. There was a small chip on one corner. "My mother," she said. "She gave me this when I was a child." He looked at it. "It is the only thing I have," she said. "When the snow goes, if you want it, I will give it to you. For the food. For the door. You opened the door." He shook his head. "Keep it," he said. She put it back. Slowly. Like she was relieved. That night he went outside before bed. He always did. He liked to look at the stars before he slept. The sky was clear, cold, hard. He walked the perimeter of the cabin like a soldier. Old habit. He had done it every night for 3 winters. He had never seen anything. That night he saw something. A track. In the snow. Half a mile out, near the tree line on the ridge above the creek. A boot print. Not his. Bigger. Heeled. A man's boot. New impression. Made some time today. He stood there a long time looking at it. He thought about the marks on her wrists. He thought about her saying white men. He thought about how she had walked 20 miles in the cold and how a person did not walk 20 miles in the cold unless they were running from something that would not stop chasing them. He did not go back and tell her. He did not want her to be afraid. But he made a decision out there in the snow. He made it standing over that boot print with his breath fogging in the cold and the wind cutting through his coat. He decided he was going to stand. Whatever was coming, he was going to stand at his door. That was the moment, you understand. That was the moment he could not take back. He walked the rest of the perimeter. He found 2 more tracks. One coming, one going. The man had watched the cabin from the ridge for some time. Then he had walked away. The man would come back, probably with others. Caleb went inside. He hung up his coat. He banked the fire. Nelia was already in the corner where she slept now, on a pallet he had built for her. Her eyes were closed. He stood over her a moment and watched her breathe. Her face was no longer pinched. The bruises on her neck were yellow now, almost gone. He sat down at the table. He picked up his Bible. He had not opened it in 2 years. He opened it now. He read for a while by the fire. He did not know what he was reading. He just turned the pages. After a while, Nelia spoke from the corner without opening her eyes. "You are quiet tonight." "I am," he said. "Are you angry with me?" "No." Silence. "Are you afraid?" He did not answer that one. He let her think he had not heard. He let the fire burn down. He let the room go warm and dark and still. He listened to her breathing. He listened to his own heart. Outside, the wind had stopped. The world was quiet. For one moment, sitting there with the Bible open on his lap and Nelia sleeping in the corner and the fire glowing low, Caleb Mercer felt something he had not felt in 3 winters. Peace. It was the worst thing that could have happened. Because peace was a lie. And the lie was about to break. He woke before dawn. The fire was almost out. The cabin was cold. Something was wrong. He lay still under the blanket. He did not move his head. He listened. He listened the way a soldier listens. Outside, in the snow, a horse blew air through its nose. His horses were in the lean-to on the south side. This sound came from the north. There was a horse in his yard that did not belong to him. He rolled out of bed slow. He did not put on boots. He moved across the floor in his socks. He picked up the rifle. Nelia was already awake. She was sitting up in the corner. Her eyes were wide. "Stay here," he whispered. He went to the door. He lifted the bar quiet. He cracked the door open 1 inch. The horse stood in the middle of the yard. Saddled. Bridled. Riderless. There was blood on the saddle. The blood was old. Dried. The horse was a tall sorrel with a white sock on the left front. Nelia came up behind him. She looked. She made a sound in the back of her throat. "That is Tomas," she whispered. "My brother's horse." Caleb closed the door slow. He set the bar back down. He turned and looked at her. "Your brother," he said. "Dead," she said. "6 weeks ago. They killed him in front of me. Then how is his horse in my yard?" She did not answer. He waited. "They sent it," she finally said. "It is a message. They are telling me they know where I am." He closed his eyes. He stood there with one hand on the door. "Nelia," he said. His voice was very quiet now. "I think it is time you told me everything." She told him. Her brother had ridden with a gang of white men out of Lincoln County. 5 of them. Robbery mostly. Stage lines. Then last summer they had taken an army payroll wagon coming up from El Paso. $12,000 in gold coin. They had buried it somewhere in the Sacramentos. Only her brother had known the spot. He had gotten cold feet. He had wanted out. He had told the others he wanted his share and he was leaving. They had killed him. They had ridden to her family's camp because they thought he had told her. He had not. They had killed her father and her aunt and 3 of the children. They had taken her. They had kept her tied for 6 weeks. They had asked her where the gold was. She had told them she did not know. They had not believed her. She had escaped one night when the man on watch fell asleep. She had walked 3 days in the snow. Then she had pounded on a door. When she finished, Caleb did not say anything for a while. He looked at the rifle in his hand. He looked at the door. He looked at her. He had a choice now. He could put her on the sorrel and send her south. He could turn her over to the men when they came. He could pretend he had not opened his door. He could do any of those things. He set the rifle down. He went to her. He put one hand on her shoulder. He spoke low. "How many are there?" "4," she said. "There were 5. One died last week of fever. Their leader is named Briggs. He is the one who shot my brother. How long until they come?" She looked at the door. She looked at the horse outside. "A day," she said. "Maybe less." He nodded. He turned her by the shoulders so she was facing him. "Listen to me," he said. "You did not bring trouble to my door. Trouble was already here. I have lived in this cabin 3 winters. I have never had a friend in this cabin. I have never had a guest. You are the first. They will not take you out of this house. Do you understand me?" She looked up at him. Her mouth moved but no sound came out. "Do you understand me, Nalia?" She nodded. "Good," he said. "Now we work. If you are still with me, if you have made it this far into the story, hit that subscribe button, because what comes next is the part you do not want to miss." For the next 6 hours they worked. He boarded the windows from the inside. He left only firing slots. He moved the table against the door as a brace. He counted his ammunition. He had 2 boxes of cartridges for the Spencer rifle. He had a Colt revolver and 12 rounds for it. He had a shotgun and 4 shells. She was not idle. She knew things he had not expected. She knew how to set deadfalls in the trees on the trail. She knew how to take brush and weave it across the path so a horse would not see the tripwire. She knew how to dig a small pit and cover it with snow. "Where did you learn this?" he said at one point. "My grandfather," she said. "He fought against the soldiers when I was a girl. He taught me. He said one day I would need to know." He was right, Caleb said. By dusk the cabin was a fortress. The trail to the front was rigged with 3 traps. The side window had a clear field of fire to the trees. The back of the cabin was hard against the rock face. They could not be flanked from behind. They sat by the fire. She had cooked a meal. They ate. They did not say much. Outside, the sorrel still stood in the yard. Caleb had not moved it. Let them see it. Let them know he knew. When it was full dark, Nalia went to her pallet and took out the turquoise pendant. She held it in her hand for a long time. Then she got up. She walked to where Caleb was sitting. She held it out. "Take it," she said. "Tonight, before the morning. Nalia, take it, please. If I do not live, I want you to have something of me. Something of my mother." He took it. He held it in his palm. The stone caught the firelight. He nodded once. He put it around his neck, under his shirt. Then he stood up. He picked up the Spencer. He went to the window slot facing north. And he waited. They came at first light. For riders. Down the trail from the north ridge. Caleb saw them through the window slot. They moved slow. Single file. The lead rider was a big man on a black horse. Long coat. White hat. A rifle laid across his saddle. That would be Briggs. Caleb spoke without turning his head. "They are here." Nalia was at the side window. She had the Colt revolver. He had taught her how to cock it last night. She knew how to shoot. She had told him so. Her grandfather again. "I see them," she said. The riders stopped at the edge of the clearing. They sat their horses. They looked at the cabin. They looked at the sorrel still standing in the yard. The sorrel raised its head and watched them back. Briggs stood up in his stirrups. He cupped his hand to his mouth. "Hello in the cabin." Caleb did not answer. "We just want the woman." Send her out. We ride away. No trouble. Caleb did not answer. A minute passed. Then another. Briggs swung down from his horse. He handed the reins to the man behind him. He started walking forward across the snow. He had his hands up, palms out, like a man with no quarrel. He took 10 steps. He took 12. On the 14th step, his right foot went through the snow into the pit. He went down to the hip. He cursed loud enough to hear at the cabin. Caleb shot him through the chest. The Spencer cracked. Briggs jerked back. He went down in the snow. The other 3 riders were already moving. One went left toward the trees. One went right. The third charged straight at the cabin with the rifle up. Caleb worked the lever. He fired again. The charging rider went out of the saddle. The horse kept running. It hit the cabin wall and bounced off and ran into the trees. The man who had gone left into the trees never came out. He had hit one of Nalia's deadfalls. Caleb heard the crash. Then a single scream. Then nothing. The man who had gone right was clever. He had circled around the side of the cabin. He came up on the side window where Nalia was. She heard him. She heard the snow crunch. She did not panic. She waited. She let him get to 10 feet from the window. She let him raise his rifle. Then she fired the Colt through the slot. Once, twice, 3 times. He went down. He did not get up. The yard went quiet. Caleb did not move. He kept the Spencer leveled. He counted in his head. 1 in the snow. 1 in the trees. 1 on the side. That was 3. But Briggs was 4. And Briggs was not in the snow anymore. Caleb's stomach went cold. Nalia, he said low. He is not where I shot him. She came across the room fast. She looked through his slot. The body in the snow was gone. There was a long red line where Briggs had dragged himself. Toward the front door. Caleb spun. He brought the Spencer up. Briggs was already at the door. He had crawled the whole way bleeding. He had a pistol in his good hand. He fired through the door. The bullet came through the wood and struck the table. Caleb dropped to one knee. He fired the Spencer through the door at chest height. The shot went through. He heard a grunt. Then another shot from outside. Then nothing. He waited. A long time he waited. Then he stood up. He worked the lever. He moved to the door. He lifted the bar. He stepped back. He kicked the door open with his boot. Briggs was on his back in the snow 3 feet from the threshold. His pistol was empty in his hand. There was a red hole in the middle of his chest. His eyes were open. They were not seeing. Caleb stood in the doorway. The cold came in. He did not feel it. He stepped out. He walked to the sorrel. The horse let him take the reins. He looked at the saddle. He looked at the dead man at his feet. Then he heard Nalia behind him. She had come out of the cabin. She walked past him. She walked to the body. She stood over Briggs. She did not spit on him. She did not curse him. She did not say anything. She just looked at him for a long, long time. Then she turned around and walked back to Caleb. She put her hand on his arm. Just one hand. Just for a moment. It is finished, she said. He nodded. He could not speak yet. They went back inside together. He shut the door. He did not bar it. There was no need. The threat was over. He sat down at the table. He set the Spencer on the wood. He stared at it. Nalia went to the stove. She poured water into the kettle. She added grounds. She set it on the heat. Then she came and sat down across from him. She did not speak. He looked at her. The bruises on her neck were almost gone. Her hands were not shaking. There was something different about her face. Something he had not seen before. Calm. The calm of a person who had been afraid for a very long time and who was no longer afraid. He reached across the table. He put his hand over hers. She did not pull away. They sat like that until the kettle whistled. That was the moment, you see. That was the moment Caleb Mercer understood what she had been promising at the door 3 weeks before. She had not been promising work. She had not been promising her hands. She had not even been promising the turquoise around his neck. She had been promising herself, and she had given him more than he had asked for. She had given him back the part of him that had been buried under the cottonwood tree out back. They buried the 4 men together at the edge of the trees. Caleb did the digging. The ground was hard. Took him most of the day. Nelia brought him water and bread. She did not help with the digging. He did not ask her to. There were some things a man did alone. He did not put markers on the graves. He did not say words over them. He shoveled the snow back over the dirt and walked away. The sorrel he kept. Nelia said her brother would have wanted it that way. The other 3 horses had run off. They would find their way somewhere. They were not his concern. That night, Nelia cooked the last of the stew. They ate by the fire. They did not say much. But the silence between them was different now. It was not the silence of strangers. It was the silence of 2 people who had stood in the same doorway together and seen the same thing and lived. She slept on her pallet that night. He slept in his bed. In the morning, the sun came up bright on the snow. The wind had stopped. There was no sound for 100 miles. A week passed. 2 weeks. The snow began to melt. The icicles dripped from the eaves. The creek out back broke up and ran black under the ice. Spring was coming. One morning, Caleb sat at the table with his coffee and watched her grinding corn at the counter. She had her sleeves rolled up. She was humming a song he did not know. The sun was on her face through the window. He set down the coffee. "Nelia," he said. She looked up. "In a few weeks the snow will be gone. The trail will be open." She stopped grinding. She set the stone down. She wiped her hands on her apron. She waited. "When you came to my door," he said, "you told me you would leave when the snow went." "I remember," she said. "I want to ask you something." She did not answer. She just looked at him. He had not done this before. Not since his wife. He was not good at it. He looked at his hands. "I am asking you to stay." The room was very quiet. "I do not have much," he said. "I am not a young man. I have buried more than most. But I am asking you. If you want to go back to your people, I will take you. I will ride with you all the way to the Sacramentos. I will make sure you are safe. That is one promise." He paused. "But if you want to stay," he said, "this cabin is yours. The land is yours. What I have is yours. You came in from the cold and you brought back something I thought was gone for good. I do not have words for it. I am not a man with a lot of words. But I am asking you to stay. That is the other promise." She crossed the room. She came to the table. She sat down across from him. She reached up. She touched the leather cord around his neck. The turquoise. She had not asked him to take it off. He had not. He had worn it every day. "I have been wanting to tell you something," she said. "Tell me." "I do not have a people to go back to. They are gone. The ones the men did not kill have moved south. I would not find them now. Not before the next winter. Not without dying again on the way." He nodded. "And I have been wanting to tell you," she said, "that I do not want to go." He let out a breath he had not known he was holding. "I came to this door because I had no other door," she said. "I stayed because of the food and the fire. I stayed longer because of the bread and the way you sat and chewed it slow that first night without saying anything. Do you remember?" "I remember. And I am here now," she said. "Because of what you did at this door 3 days ago. You stood. Other men would not have stood. You stood for me. There is no place else for me to go. There is no place else I want to go." He took her hand across the table. He did not say anything for a long time. Then he said, "In the spring, I will ride to Lincoln. I will find the parson. I will bring him back here. We will do this proper if you want." "I would want that," she said. "Good." He stood up. He went to the door. He opened it. The sun came in. The yard was muddy with melt. The sorrel was grazing on the first green grass. The cottonwood out back was budding. Nelia came up behind him. She stood at his shoulder. She looked out. She did not say anything. She put her hand on his back. He put his arm around her shoulders. They stood in the open doorway for a long time. When she first came to that door, she said she would give him whatever reward she could. She thought she had nothing. She thought the only thing of value she carried was a piece of turquoise on a leather cord. She was wrong. What she gave him was bigger than gold. Bigger than the $12,000 buried somewhere in the Sacramentos. Caleb never went looking for that gold. He never wanted it. He had what he wanted. She had come in from the cold with empty hands. And she had walked out of the winter into the spring with him standing beside her in the open door. And the door that day was no longer barred. It would not be barred again.